Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Ethereum and BMNR video. So there are some, rifts happening in the crypto space. I'm mainly talking about like capitulation, right? So first up, we have David Hoffman of Bankless selling his entire crypto stake, and then we also have Mark Cuban, which I'm not sure if he's super important, also selling most of his bitcoin. Now I don't know too much about these two guys necessarily. I know David Hoffman. I've been watching a lot of Bankless stuff. They have this channel called Bankless, and I've been watching a lot of it recently ever since I think I bought BMNR in last year, right? So I was really surprised why David Hoffman sold, and when I actually looked at the video, I honestly cannot tell you if I figured out why exactly he sold. I don't think the reason is necessarily very clear, not to me, anyways. Um, one thing that I think David Hoffman said is that Vitalik is not prioritizing Ethereum in terms of the share price, right? Ethereum's share price, and he's only mainly looking at the network. But I think eventually, if Ethereum network does well, and I'll give you some examples of that, the asset or the coin will eventually perform. And so I don't know if this is necessarily just an emotional capitulation on David Hoffman's part, or maybe he has like a better reason that he hasn't explained. So I found this very, very jarring. Okay. And people are saying that Tom Lee might be the one to take over the Ethereum Foundation. I am not necessarily very sure about that. And my reaction to all of this is just that I hope Tom Lee doesn't freaking give up on ETH, because my bags are still heavy, man. Like I need someone to pump my bags. Okay. Um. So if you go back to BMNR, the stock, we are actually holding this support level very, very well. Okay. Who's the guy's name? Benjamin Cohen said that Ethereum could very well hit back to 1500, and that kind of made me poop my pants a little bit. So I bought back my cash secure put. It's a very small position, so it's nothing worth like even talking about. But I would really, really suggest not taking a lot of risk, because if you go to look at what happens if you use um, leverage on BMNR, it's just going to completely just wreck you, because we have this guy, South Korean funeral firm, loses $33 million on leverage ETH, or leverage Bitmine in this case, which is like theoretically like more than double leverage, right? And it just goes to show like leverage doesn't belong with Ethereum and BMNR because of the strategy itself. Now, this could also be said like BMNR is like a very, very bad stock as of now. I still think BMNR can eventually outperform the market, but I think it goes to show, right? Even the professionals are getting bought with Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it's no matter what you say, this sort of capitulation is very important to think about, because if these guys are getting out, it also means that a lot of people are also getting out, right? So I think the next thing that we should look at here is sort of the changing of the guards, or the changing of the hands of Ethereum from sort of retail. I'm not saying necessarily these guys are retail, but in the grand scheme of things, when I show you the next page, these guys are basically just retail. The changing of hands from retail to the institutions, right? And hopefully that will sort of boost the stock price of Ethereum. So what am I sort of talking about here? So I had Codex sort of generate this image. Um, so some of the information might be wrong, but I've looked over it. I think it's pretty good, and it sort of proves the point that I'm trying to make. And you can see that a lot of institutional activity is happening on Ethereum. You can see BlackRock over here, and Securitize has a built product which is launched on Ethereum. Later expanding into Ethereum layer 2s, which is something I'm a little bit concerned about because Vitalik is heavily against the layer 2s. And that honestly could be what's causing the rift. And then we have Franklin Templeton that has a government money fund. Also, I've been watching some of these guys. What's his name? Professor Jiang. He's not actually a professor, but I mean, he's making a point that has been already made, right? Which is the U.S. government is trying to sell more T bills via stablecoins, and I think politics aside, I think that's pretty good for a use case of ETH. Okay, next up we have Ondo Finance, doing that treasury thing that we just talked about. JP Morgan doing another money market fund. UBS, money market. Societal Generale doing stablecoins. Honestly, I just made this video so I can say the name because I figured out how to pronounce it. It's Societal Generale. I'm pretty sure I'm getting that correctly. I'm pretty proud of that. And then you have PayPal. The PayPal stock aside, they are building on it. And then the last page I had here had Visa. Okay, before we get into that, I have another sort of HTML which I'm gonna go through. We have Circle, which is actually one of best performing. I wouldn't say a best performing, but it's performing very well. You can see here they had a pretty decent bounce up. I guess they're not performing very well so recently, but yeah, if you look at the forward chart, they recover from their lows very very well. Okay, and most of their profits come from like the interest rates, I think. And then you have Robinhood. Now, a lot of these are building on layer twos, which I don't understand the technology well enough. So we'll see how that goes. And then you have a European investment bank giving out a digital bond. Um, so a lot of institutional activity is happening on Ethereum, and we really need to take note of the sort of changing of the guards. And now I don't know, and you can read as I'm talking. I don't know what this will necessarily do for Ethereum. But I think right now any sort of activity can't be bad, right? Because activity means that adoption is happening. I have another page here, and this is more focused on um, how many assets there are in the open market, right? And these are basically all the sort of holders and spot ETH and staking ETFs. You have a lot of futures. I don't know, I don't trade futures. I'm not sure how this really affects it. We have the very obvious digital asset treasuries, um, and then we have yeah, this is just more institutions building on Ethereum. Once again, we have BlackRock, JP Morgan, UBS, Franklin Templeton, Wisdom Tree. I didn't even know they had this. Societal Generale, Visa. Using Ethereum as a stablecoin. Once again, I think the stablecoin is the most clear um, use case of Ethereum. Now, tokenization is also pretty clear, but they are unfortunately suffering from a lot of competition in that space. Um, yeah, we got Circle, we got Coinbase, Kraken. Well, these are a lot of layer twos, so we're gonna have to look into how the layer twos will hurt or help Ethereum. Okay, and I think both these HTMLs show that there is definitely a lot of activity happening on Ethereum, or maybe it might not be activity, but a lot of institutions building on Ethereum. And I think theoretically, with this much activity and interest, Ethereum will eventually do well. But we just have to be very very patient. And if you think about it this way, like if Ethereum was not doing this well, would there even be, or if Ethereum was not effective, would there even be any of these institutions looking at it, right? And I think the answer would be sort of no. So I'm still gonna hold BMNR, and even if it drops down to like $15, if Ethereum goes to like 1500, I will likely still add to my position, and I will likely still hold. So yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe. See you next one.